Do demons exist, and if so, what are they?
That's a philosophical question?
I would say so, wouldn't you?
Well, I mean, if it's a matter of fact, I haven't seen any demons, right?
That's why it would be a philosophical question.
That would depend upon the definition of what a demon is, right? I can't say that I have ever seen a demon. A demon, as I understand, is usually kind of like a spirit, you know, within, right? Within yourself or within someone else.
Hi. The question is, and I just ask you to be as objective and intellectually honest as possible.
Okay.
Do demons exist, and if so, what are they?
Well, demons definitely do exist. What demons are, they're fallen angels. The Bible talks about that in the book of Isaiah, that Lucifer himself was an angel God created him, but he chose to rebel against God, and he took a third of the heavenly, not the heavenly host, but the angels that were in heaven with him.
Go on.
Well, in that case, I mean, it's just a metaphor, right? I mean, it's no specific, definite thing that you can see or sense. So I'd say a demon is, you know, it's one of those metaphorical things. So I'm not sure I could say, you know, it exists.
And because of that, demons are considered fallen angels. They're considered part of the forces that keeps mankind enslaved, not only because of our sin against God, you know, us being born with a sinful nature, but the Bible also tells us that the prince of this world, which is Satan, keeps mankind blinded, and also the demons are, you know, part of that. Well, the word I'm looking for is like group, but like the sect, the spiritual realm of darkness. So demons definitely are real, and Satan is very real as well.
Appreciate your time, sir.
So, I wanted to do that to really just kind of raise awareness in terms of what it is we're talking about here, which is the quote-unquote reality of demons, right? So what better way to introduce it than asking people, you know, just to be as objective as possible, as intellectually honest as possible, and ask the question, right? Want to make an assessment in terms of, you know, whatever your view is, world conscientious view, or whatever you want to say. It is important to ask questions of individuals to, you know, ascertain a, you know, not so much a consensus, but an idea that may or may not be beyond the person asking the question. Fair enough? Okay, so that was the reason for that. Onward. Demons. Oh, demons. What are they? Are they real? Do they exist? Is it something that the crazy man on the webinets be making videos of? Well, the answer is yes.
Now we're up to about $3 billion. The American government will probably be called upon to do the most for long-term reconstruction. I just think of what happened, for example, when Central America was devastated by the hurricanes when I was president. We spent almost $1 billion of the taxpayers' money out of their pockets. And if I could just make one other point about that, because you asked if it was a worldwide effort. Because of the internet and because you can make contributions over the net. A small amount of cash pooled with others can do an enormous amount of good. You have AOL and Apple, for example, using their position on the internet to help collect small contributions. I think AOL put together about $7.5 million in small contributions in a day.
And President Bush, it's cash over items, right? If you're going to give...
Right now it is. Larry, right now that's true. President Clinton and I accompanied the president when he went to pay his respects. We all did, signing the books at the various four embassies of the countries that were affected. And all of them made clear that the best thing you can do is to send money at this time as opposed to goods, because there's no delivery problem. Sometimes the goods can be acquired in a neighborhood nearby, or sometimes the goods that may be sent from here might not be exactly what's needed. The medicine might be different. So we've concluded that the best thing to do is, as President Clinton said a minute ago, to give to these organizations or send it into usafreedom.gov and freedomcorps.gov and let them help distribute it. But the main thing is, it's better at this juncture to send cash, and I think they all agree with that, the embassies.
Yeah, Larry, let me just give you an example. If you look at the pictures of the airport in Colombo in Sri Lanka, it's full. You literally, I don't know how they're going to get all the crates off of the airport site that they have. There's a wonderful Buddhist temple.
שילמתי 139 שקל, ככה.
If she's got water in her hand, you have to be careful, because she'll scatter it at you. If she has Coca-Cola, then she'll make you into a black Christian. Became black. Don't come closer, Rabbi. Don't come closer, Rabbi.
מה זה telemetry? מחוצפת! מחוצפת!
לא מתביישת! ככה עושים לרב של הרב! Shame on you! Shame on you!
העיניים שלך רב! התראה!
אדוני השוטר!
מחוצפת!
אדוני השוטר, הם תוקפים אותנו! אדוני השוטר, הם תוקפים אותנו!
Shame on you! בושה לכם!
הם תוקפים אותנו!
בושה לכם! Shame on you! Go back to Jesus! Shame on you! בושה!
הרב של העיר! הרב של העיר!
You didn't see her face in court. Oh, that was good. Hey, ya beep, left, go, get away from here. Get away from here, get away from here. לא מתביישים? ככה יהודה עושה לרב של הרב? בושה וחרפה!
She'll lay you on the throne. She got Betty Davis eyes. She'll take a tumble on you, roll you like you were dice until you come out blue. She's got Betty Davis eyes. She'll expose you when she snows you off your feet with the crumbs she throws you. She's ferocious, and she knows just what it takes to make it pro-blush. All the boys think
Could not the Fed do something to prevent a huge or enormous popping of this bubble?
We don't think so. The Fed screwed up, in our opinion. Henry.
and she'll tease you. She'll she's got Petty Davis eyes. She'll tease you, she'll unease you, just to please you. She's got Betty Davis eyes. She'll expose you when she snows you.
It's embarrassing, really. But since that terrible day, I became bisexual, which to me as an African is very, very disgusting. Since that time, my mind doesn't seem to be my own. I think about things that a man like me shouldn't bother himself about. I worry about people. It's sickening. I have ruined my life because of worrying about people. I feel that I want to take every human being on this earth by the shoulders, shake them roughly and say, listen, Pastor, there is more to this earth than you think.
People say that you have got to have 10,000 hours studying to be an expert in anything. As such, consider this, my Christian friends, the next level.
I mean, that's the root of the problem. Who wants a third world war? The Iranian president says that one member state of the United Nations should be wiped physically from the map with all its people.
Yeah.
He says the United States is a satanic power. Members of his government, named members of his government, have been caught sponsoring death squads. He's lied. He's lied to the European Union about his nuclear program.
But you know that a lot
he says he believes the Messiah is about to come back. Who's looking for a war here?
You got a core basis down, right? You're a sinner. God created you, wants to save you. He sent a sacrificial lamb to save you. Call upon Christ. That's the core. That's the core. Obviously, there is more that we need to learn. I'm not talking over you because I was what we call post-Constantine Christian as well. Post-Constantine Christian means that you were indoctrinated with a false religiosity that started in 70 AD when Constantine could not control majority aspects of his empire.
I am the stone that the builder refused. I am the visual, the inspiration that made ladies sing the blues. I'm the spark that makes your idea bright.
I would really love to see your vision.
Vision? What do you know about my vision? My vision would turn your world upside down, tear asunder your illusions, and send the sanctuary of your own ignorance crashing down around you.
And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of the heavenly host, praising God, and saying, Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men. And that's what Christmas is all about.
You hear that, boy? That's what Christmas is all about.
Actually, Granddad, Christmas is a pagan holiday. And Jesus probably hates you for celebrating it.
There ain't gonna be no Scrooges in this house, boy.
Look, Granddad, it's clear from the scripture that Jesus was not born in winter. The shepherds who saw the angels announcing his birth would not have been out in their fields in December. The Palestinian winters are too cold, if you believe in that sort of thing. The truth is, Christmas evolved from the Roman holiday Saturnalia, a winter festival where men gave gifts to each other. They also would get drunk, have sex with each other, and beat their wives. People would act so crazy on Christmas The holiday was outlawed by the Protestant Church until the 1800s. As a matter of fact, the United States Congress Granddad? Granddad!
I'm sorry, boy. What was that?
I just explained the entire history of Christmas.
But it was boring, Huey. You just blah, blah, gay sex, blah, blah, Congress. You know, you gotta be interesting.
So he had to amalgamate, consolidate, make into one. This whole consolidation process, you're going to hear that a lot. Come as one. But he did that to win over these so-called new Christians that were popping up all over the place because the individual name, his true name, Yeshaya. That'd be the first lesson to some of you that don't know what I'm talking about as far as Christianity is concerned. But that is his true name. It's given to us in the Dead Sea Scrolls, given to us in the Dead Sea tablets. So Christ guy, he could not control the legend that was becoming our Lord and Savior, Yeshua. So he had to change things, make them different. So he amalgamated all his false beliefs, all the pagan gods, which are all basically just either other incantations or idols of Satan himself, or any of the fallen's children, the Nephilim, being Nimrod, Ra, Osiris. Yes, I am kind of mixing cultures. Right now we're talking about Roman. I'm mixing in Egyptian culture as well at this point. To be honest with you, it's actually accurate to do that. It doesn't matter about the timeline of history so much. What matters is the reality that Satan is involved in all of Earth's timelines since our fall.
The story of reptilian gods from the heavens creating man is not at all uncommon. It in fact can be found in most every region of our planet. In Japan, emperors claim descent from dragon gods who came from the sky. Australian Aborigines teach of a reptilian race which lives underneath the earth and governs over men. They believe they are descendants of a race of dragon human. China teaches the serpent queen Nukua interbred with man. India calls these reptilian gods Nagas and claim they seeded their royal families. Throughout the Middle East, it is believed a serpent race created man. The book of Genesis tells of giants who came from the heavens to breed with the daughters of man. They are called the Nephilim. In Africa, they call them Chitari, children of the serpent. The royal kings of Africa claim descent from serpent gods who came from the sky. In South America, the Mayans teach that their ancestors were the people of the serpent. The Aztecs were said to be created by a serpent woman. In America, the Hopi Indians believe sky gods came to Earth to breed with their women and referred to them as their snake brothers. The word Sioux means snakes, and Iroquois means serpents. It seems the only places you will not find this historical story is where the history has been methodically destroyed. The descendants of King Anu in Sumeria and Babylon can be traced throughout time. The pharaohs of Egypt were from the bloodlines of the Babylonian kings. The rulers of the Roman Empire can be traced to Egyptian hierarchy. All throughout Europe, the royal families can be traced back to the great Roman emperors. 34 of the presidents of the United States are directly descended from European royalty, with the remaining 8 who are only closely related to these same bloodlines. In 1934, President Franklin Roosevelt placed the Great Seal, originally created in 1782 by the Freemasons, on the dollar bill. Represented in the Great Seal is a pyramid and the all-seeing eye, known to be used by the elusive society, the Illuminati. Strung together in conspiratorial confusion are secret societies such as the Illuminati, the Freemasons, and the Bohemian Club. In 1917, National Geographic did a story on a place in Montreal, California called Bohemian Grove. The story reports a place where the world's elite, members of the Bohemian Club, retreat to in late July and conduct an ancient occult ceremony called the Cremation of Care. Every year in July, the world's leaders, media moguls, and members of the World Bank spend 2 weeks of what is known as a men-only retreat at the Grove. In the year 2000, BBC television show World of Wonder infiltrated Bohemian Grove with hidden cameras and aired the video on the BBC. The video shows the large mass of men donning red and black robes and once again conducting the Cremation of Care ceremony. The altar is at the base of a 200-foot owl, the Babylonian symbol of the god Moloch, the god of human sacrifice. In the video, a body is delivered upriver to the altar where it is set on fire. Upon being aired, members of the Bohemian Club reported that the ceremony is a put-on, merely done for entertainment and fun. This history tells a story of our world leaders having a deep involvement in satanic tradition, worshipping our reptilian overlords, the serpent gods. It poses the possibility that we may be and have always been enslaved by our leaders, no different than sheep or cattle. There is an endless amount of information out there which supports this.
The amalgamation of these gods, these entities, and it's pervasive in our historical accounts. It's there. It's all the way from Timbuktu to Egypt to Africa to the Asian cultures. So what we have to do is kind of come back to the truth, right? We have to come back to what it is that we have lost. Deuteronomy 28:15 kind of talks a lot of it actually, about why we fell out of the favor of the Most High. Right now, I'm actually talking about Hebrews, but we can also account for Gentiles as well. It's actually it's safe to say that we are all in this together, especially at this point. So, Jew and Gentile alike. Right now, I really have to preface the Hebrews mainly at this point, because the Scripture's talking about us, Hebrew Israelites. We fell out of grace with the Most High, so we're cursed. The Scripture says that we keep His commandments, statutes. We are in His grace. We are blessed. But something happened, between Deuteronomy and Psalms. David's just very adamant. He's very adamant about talking about how we don't want to fall out of the statutes. We don't want to fall out of the law. We don't want to fall out of the commandments because they were given to us for good sake, for the Most High's will, the beauty and the love of our existence, why we're here, to live for Him. Yeah, and obviously, big contrast between these two books, and it's important to note that there's a reason for that, because we fell. We can go on and on about blaming Satan, demons, their servants, in socio-political agenda, or arenas rather, the Illuminati circles, the Mason circles, the Zionist circles, religious circles, answer. We can go into all that and say, hey, you know, they've been there pretty much since we were born, offered the sin. They just kept manipulating us. We have these purveyors for the perversion of our soul to sin. We could blame them, yeah, but you know, we allowed all this to happen. It's on us. That's what the curse in Deuteronomy 28 is talking about. It's talking about what we did to ourselves. We cursed ourselves. We sell ourselves drugs in the inner cities. We commit fornication, adultery, abortion is actually more of a apparatus created to destroy, disseminate, and just pass the eugenics against our people, which would be the ethnic oriented, which is mainly the Hebrews, and of course the Gentiles that are involved in that. We created war, we created nuclear bombs, we created bullets, we created weapons of mass destruction. And what we have to understand is that cursed us. I can't go into a 7-Eleven convenience store here in town, get whatever I want and walk out without paying for it. One way or another, I'm going to pay for it, right? Either I offer cash tender, or I try to get out of there with the stuff. That's called theft. Call the cops. I go to jail. I'll pay for it through the law system.
This is Mel, United States Mint.
Hi, ML. First National needs another 20 millis.
We're already running the presses full steam here, Ethan.
Gotta keep making loans. Gotta keep the money flowing.
All right, you're the Fed. Whatever you guys say. 20 million more by morning.
But I don't get it. What's so wrong about the Fed printing money?
Because it's unconstitutional, pal. Our treasury is supposed to create our money, but now the Fed controls the printing of America's money. Nobody gets a friggin' dollar that the Fed didn't print. So, they print the money, then they loan it to the government, then they charge the government interest, then the government taxes you to pay for it. Wake up, pal!
God, I don't see what the big deal is.
You know, you're right, pal.
Wait a minute. Wait, I am?
Yeah. I forget how effective they are at keeping you ignorant.
Well, that's okay. Hey, I'm not ignorant.
Do you even know what money is, pal? In the long, long ago, people bartered. They traded things they had for things they wanted. I'll trade you my raspberries for that there pot pie.
I don't want your berries.
Come on, pal. Those sweet berries.
They're not sweet. They're old, and I don't like berries.
Give me that pot pie!
No.
As you can see, this bartering situation created some problems. Then one day, a goldsmith walked up and said,
"Now, everybody thinks gold is valuable, so why doesn't everybody trade gold for things they need?"
A price was set for gold, and now it was very easy to conduct commerce because people could trade gold for all the things they needed.
Arvin! Wow, look at all my gold! Hey, stop them! That's my gold!
Damn thieves!
Say there, Pyle. I've got a vault and some guards. I can keep your gold safe for you, for a small fee.
Yeah, sure, that'd be awesome. You see, Pyle, this is how the first bank made money.
There you go, Pyle. I owe you 100 gold coins.
Okay, great.
Come back anytime and redeem your gold when you want it. It'll be right here, in my vault.
Now you're holding the very first paper money, Pyle.
Wow, this is great. It all makes sense.
Oh, that's right. It was good, and everybody started using IOUs because everybody knew the IOU was as good as gold.
Wow, this candy is really a good price. 1 IOU. I'm getting some more for later. Hey, wait Wait a minute, it was just one IOU. 10 IOUs for chocolate? You can't just raise prices like that.
Oh, the Candyman can.
Oh, the Candyman can. Wait, that is just frickin' wrong.
It's called inflation, pal. It makes your IOUs worth less and less until they are worth nothing. Less bang for the buck. Dollar ain't what it used to be.
But I worked hard and I baked all those pot pies. Now I have to work harder to make less? That's not fair.
Oh, if you think that's not fair, you're gonna love the next part.
What's he doing?
How do banks make money, pal?
By making more loans?
Oh, that's right. He's good. See, he prints more IOUs without any more gold, loans them out for interest, makes a pretty penny, and nobody is the wiser. Unless everybody wanted their gold back at the same time.
No. That's my gold.
Not anymore.
What are you talking about?
I'd like to redeem my IOUs, please. Thank you very much.
Hey! I want my gold back now! Thief!
I love the bank run, bringing people together. See, they all found out he was stealing, made a run on the bank, and demanded their gold, but as you can see, there ain't no gold to get. Thus was invented the ultimate machine to steal real money and enslave all the nations on Earth. It's alive! The goldsmith's discovery has been kept a closely guarded secret. It was never intended for you to see. This discovery is called fractional reserve banking. In the wrong hands, it's more powerful than the nuclear bomb in its ability to completely and utterly destroy a nation who is subjected to its perversion. They finance both sides of the war. We must hurry! That's him, the Red Shield courier! Shoot him!
No! I'm not shooting anyone.
Damn it, Pop!
What?
He beat everyone back with the news of the war and told England that Napoleon won. The Red Shield bankers in London pretended that England was doomed and started selling their English stocks. The English went into a selling frenzy to get rid of worthless English money.
But the English won, right?
Of course they won. But it was a trick by Red Shield. They waited until the stocks plummeted to pennies and then bought England back for nearly nothing.
What? They did that? How?
When the English leaders found out, they had no choice but to give themselves over to the Red Shield. Their money was gone, and they were slaves to the Red Shield war debt. Since that time, the English have been paying their national taxes directly to the Red Shield private bankers. The people have no idea. But the bankers bragged about what they did to us, laughing at us all the way to the bank.
Why, it's the best business I've ever done. If I can control a nation's wealth, I cannot who makes its laws.
Oh, is this what Jefferson wanted to show me?
No, pal. Look.
They're in America, too?
The Red Shield banks are here, pal. To preserve our independence, we must not let our rulers load us with perpetual debt. We must make our choice between economy and liberty or profusion and servitude.
Wow.
I place economy among the first and most important of Republican virtues, and public debt is the greatest of the dangers to be feared. It is incumbent on every generation to pay its own debts as it goes.
We must have a central bank to secure this country's finances.
If the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of their money, first by inflation and then by deflation, the banks and corporations that will grow up around them will deprive the people of their property until their children will wake up homeless on the very continent their fathers conquered.
Jefferson, you're mad. This country will have a central bank.
The first attempt at a central bank only lasted 20 years and was shut down. But the bankers tried again against Old Hickory, President Andrew Jackson.
You are a den of vipers and thieves. I intend to rout you out, and by the eternal God, I will rout you out.
After surviving an assassination attempt, Jackson finally defeated the bank in 1836. When asked what was the greatest accomplishment in his life, Old Hickory replied,
I killed the bank.
And with real money backed with real gold, our country experienced the greatest boom in any nation's history. Oh, it was beautiful, pal. But the bankers, greedy for more power and wealth, were concocting their most ambitious plan yet to once and for all take control of the finances of the United States. In 1910, a secret meeting was held at a J.P. Morgan estate on Jekyll Island off the coast of Georgia. This meeting was so secretive, so concealed from government and public knowledge that the 10 attendees used code names.
I am clearly the richest man, so I should be the one to run the super-secret central bank. I own all the oil in America. I'm clearly richer than you will ever be, hula girl. I should run the super-secret central bank. You're nothing compared to me, lube job. I shall run the secret bank.
Silence!
Supreme Master Leader, I didn't know you were gonna be here.
I'm not. Neither are you, dumbass.
Oh yeah, right. He's so smart.
None of you shall run the bank. We have failed in the past because of openness. This time, the key to success is secrecy. The people must believe that they run the bank.
Yes, brilliant! A sneak attack. What's the plan?
We first create panic, then we show them the solution. With our man in office and well-planned timing, we will have our central bank. And so the people think it is theirs. We shall christen it Federal. The Federal Reserve.
The Fed now has the exclusive power to print America's money. They loan this money to our banks and our government at interest, putting immediate debt on our own money, printing more and more, so each dollar they print becomes worth less than the one before. What in the hell is that? That pile is how our government now must pay back these debts to the Fed. Your taxes did not go to your government. They don't? It's the greatest theft in human history.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence.
This is the last president to stand up to the Fed. You must see. On June 4, 1963, President Kennedy signed Executive Order 11110. This executive order empowered the U.S. Treasury to issue real money without the Fed. It would have worked. Kennedy's plan to dismantle the Federal Reserve machine had begun. But 6 months later, John F. Kennedy went to Dallas and never returned.
No way. No way they could do that.
The new president, Lyndon Johnson, threw out Kennedy's order. And since JFK, no president has dared confront the secret powers behind the Federal Reserve. They consolidate bigger and bigger banks, print more and more money, accountable to no one, decimating our nation's wealth for the benefit of a few.
Okay? That was my curse to myself. I said to myself, well, why don't I just take the stuff for free? Yeah, I don't really want to pay for it. Yank, yank, snatch, snatch, go, go, go. Jail, jail, jail. Curse, curse, curse. It's a metaphor, parable. Call it what you will. I think you're getting the drift. That's what Deuteronomy 28 is talking about. If we continue to sin, we are going to continue to propagate curses. Okay? We're already dealing with enough. We're already dealing with generational curses. Ones that were given to us by our fathers, their fathers, yada yada yada. If you haven't broken those, and you're shy of the Christ's name yet, get on it. Then start breaking the current curses.
I'll give you a quick example to kind of help you see the perspective here. To those of you who have had what people would call sleep paralysis, okay, or night terrors, that's demonic oppression. There are ways of stopping the sleep paralysis. There are actually several different methods. Some what we would call secular, humanist, or New Age practices, to where you raise your vibrational level, your chakra level. If you are not aware of what your vibration frequency is, that's your personality. Each human being has their own personality, and it's their own frequency. It's their own vibrational frequency range, or their own vibrational frequency, rather. Each individual has that. It's built into us by the Most High. New Age mysticism and philosophy has a very limited way of looking at it, but there is definitive truth in it. However, Satan gets his hands into that and manipulates masses into thinking that it's something else, because he knows what it does. I know I'm being vague, but I don't mean to be. I was a New Ager. I practiced mysticism as well. There's limitations to it. What I'm trying to get at is that the Bible tells us that there doesn't have to be limitations from it. We use Yeshua's name. That's the real name of the anointed one, the Bible calls, who died sinless that we may live and be healed despite our sin. Now, when this name is used, all powers and principalities of darkness we're not just defended from them, they're cast out of people. I can actually testify to this. I will be the source material for this right now. But there's too many limitations in chakra manipulation, manipulation of your vibrational frequency, and all that kind of stuff. Demons, they kind of hold on to it when it's negative, or fear is incited. These are things that you need to be very aware of if you intend to beat, at the very least right now, sleep paralysis or night terrors. You can defend yourself by raising vibrational frequencies to a level of positivity, because evil spirits, demons, what have you, don't like that. They feed off of fear. That's why they're there to begin with. That's why that's why you're paralyzed, because for some reason you've allowed a doorway into your being, whether by generational curses, doing drugs, sexual immorality, whatever sin floats the boat. Those are the things that open up the doorways. These spirits then have a right to us, so to speak, to attack and feed off of us. So it's limited. However, you have more power that was given unto you by the Most High Power, Hayashurahaya, which is the name he gave us in Exodus 13, which means I am that I am. So, looking at it from, again, the biblical standpoint, I stand as a testimony to the fact that I no longer have night terrors. Now, jokingly, some people could say, well, Mark, that's because you don't sleep anymore. You're an insomniac. It's not funny. Anyway, when I do sleep, I don't have night terrors anymore. Or sleep paralysis, which I just call demonic oppression of one kind or another. I don't even have to pray anymore, because my faith has been in tune that much that they're completely gone. So I need people to, kind of see this testimony and try it for yourself. Don't try all the space age mysticism. You open your third eye, that's a one-way ticket to the Hell Express, the way my brother likes to say. Because those are things outside of the power of the Most High Power that was given unto us to help defeat these enemies, not just defend ourselves, but actually defeat them. All right. This is for the Hebrew first, then the Gentile second, who would follow the Hebrews into the Most High's path into heaven, because that's ultimately what this is about. I'm not here to feed a demon. I'm not. I detest them and I deplore them, and so should you.
What this is about is recognizing that we cannot be doing the things that we were told to do that was okay, because we were given amnesia according to the scriptures. We were given forgetfulness according to Deuteronomy, and we are just now waking up. First the Jews, then the Gentiles. There is an awakening. bad guys, quote unquote, they know it's coming. So all the more reason why they're pushing the envelope in terms of current manipulations and just kind of upping the score, or upping the ante rather, for war, dissension, deception, all this other hoo-ha. Okay? Now I can talk about the relative politics, new bill, whatever, or executive action, rather, to do what George Orwell wrote in 1984, which is making anything journalistic or anything artistic now a matter of the state. That's Communism 101. 10, sorry. 0 is a number, O is a letter. That just irks me when that happens, you know. Anyway, so we have to be cognizant of these events, yes. He did write into order that the CIA is now regulating mandates for the FCC. As in, yes, the FCC, the Federal Communication Commission, which is where we get our information, or what regulates the information that we get. So he kind of, worked around net neutrality, kind of got over that. They were trying to stop net neutrality for the longest time, right? Well, he's like, well, here's the thing. Why don't we just individualize the attack rather than trying to get everybody attacked?
Corporate interest has taken over America. I mean, you can go back to the founding fathers of America. They were working their own corporate interests. I mean, it had a lot to do with the decisions they made in Philadelphia in the late 1700s, but it was balanced against a set of constitutional rights and the idea that, well, this particular model, a free model, a great society, is going to yield a greater result. And as you like to point out many times, I mean, America was an incredibly successful experiment for a long time. It evolved. And then somewhere along the way, we've kind of just gone like that, where corporate interest has completely taken over our political structure, and it's also taken over our musical structure, where you have, I mean, yes, it's a business, as somebody once said, it is a music business, but when it is the prime driving force, well, then of course you're going to get into things that are salacious and in essence overtly negative to the culture because they're just serving a particular interest. And there is a point where we all have to be responsible for our community standard. We all have to be responsible for the messages we put out. I mean, I've said lots of crazy things, done a lot of crazy things, but I've always had an intention in the back of my mind that something I was doing, or the collective amount of things that I was doing, were going to help somebody somewhere. If your complete intention is to do nothing but profit on the backs of others, well, then you know where that's going to go. From a political standpoint, anywhere where you see dissent being stifled, where is the fear? I mean, or should I say, why is the fear there? Most people I talk to that would say have a problem with the government, they don't sit around and talk about anarchy or overthrowing the government. They just want to see a government that represents their sort of community value. And I'm not necessarily one side or the other. You know, I've got people in my family that are total right-wing Republicans. Some of them are probably even racist. But they at least have a particular opinion that they're coming from that is rooted in their own belief system. When all you have is corporate interest driving something, well, then it's got nothing to do with belief. It's about looking at you and saying, how can I strip this man or this woman or this family of their resources? It's like I get it. Like, I get you want to make money, you know, I get you want to sell me something, but it's when it's at the expense of my community, when it's at the expense of the values of the people around me. And, you know, people don't even talk to their neighbors, and they're all so locked into this, we talked about it last night, kind of a narcoleptic state where the TV is enough or the computer is enough. That's a scary thing, you know, and so there is a connection there between kind of stifling dissent. You know, what did Obama say coming in? I want to run this great open government. Transparent was, I believe, the word they used. And now you've seen where they go out of their way to stifle dissent.
It's the most closed government.
Right. But what I say from an artistic point of view, and as somebody who's been in the media and at the top levels of media, and of course I know plenty of things that go on behind the scenes.
See what he said there? It's very, very important to note the things that these entertainers know. They are only able to say so much.
Why are we so afraid of that dissent? You know, what is the problem? I mean, isn't that the point of a democracy? You're supposed to have a kind of a riotous debate about who's right. It should be an uncomfortable conversation. There should be kind of a, that's the whole point.
Eventually they will. Eventually they will get the internet, obviously, off. They'll just utilize it for their own means. But, you know, again, those are the political sides of things that don't really matter to me too much, I guess, at this point. What I really would rather talk about is the spiritual warfare that's going on, and the psychological effects, because those two things go hand in hand, and it is demonic warfare. They know exactly how to push our buttons. They've been doing it for centuries. Basically, they've been doing it since we've existed. So, there's that. But, going further, the reason there are demons in this world is because of our curse. It's part of our curse. But the Most High is always in control. Always in control. The Bible says there's nothing new under the sun to Him, the Most High. How could there be? He created everything, including the sun. So, obviously, this isn't for if you don't believe in the Most High and all that stuff. I still want you to pay attention and look at this video, disseminate it. I didn't really care about the Most High either. I was agnostic, became an occultist, New Age, mystic, basically just a witch. Really stupid. But I've kind of gone all over the place in terms of religiosity. So I'm well versed in a lot of what I'm talking about. The point is, before we get into whether demons actually exist, and if they do, what they are, why they operate, how they operate, breaking down the entire systemic in terms of society, how they've infiltrated, all the stuff that we need to talk about. We need to get into their origin. And the only way we can get into their origin is by talking about us and our fall. So that's where this is going. Let's try to come to that accord in this reality, because that's really what needs to be talked about. So in essence, what we really got to understand is that we have fallen, all of us, and we've all fallen and fall short to the glory of the Most High, our Creator. We've all sinned and fall short to the glory of the Most High. We need to dissect what the bajonkers is going on here, and to get to the nitty-gritty of whether these beings known as demons exist. But to help a little bit, keep the interest. So I know you guys are all positioned to get the heck out of Dodge if somebody says something that's not interesting to you in the first 10 or 15 seconds. I know, I'm the same way. I will tell you this, that whatever it is that you believe at this point in terms of their existence, I will tell you what a demon actually is.
Nephilim. Once the Nephilim were killed off in war, what legend coins the clash of the Titans, there was no place for those particular spirits that were made from celestial and terrestrial beings. So the Most High said they will be called evil spirits upon the earth. And therefore, that's the origin of demonology. They're the children and the offspring of angels who slept with women.
We would come back to the base and we started hearing this rumor about a unit that killed they started calling it was a really tall person. At first I didn't think anything of it. We come to find out that the person that they killed actually was 3 times the size of a man, had extra digits on their hand and digits on their feet, and had red hair. And a special unit had come in and wanted this target.
You were in Afghanistan in 2002, and you were called into a very remote section of Afghanistan because a patrol had basically gone missing.
Exactly.
Okay, just around for miles. So it's very remote.
Yeah, very remote. So we flew in with about 4 kilometers. We're hiking through the same area where they were supposed to make one of their checkpoints, the route. And before we left, there was all kinds of what happened with the ambush. That was even odd because at the point of the ambush, it was called when it was there support something. Okay, there was no call, just off the grid. So we're coming down a mountainside, and it was a nice path to go past. As we think around this corner, you can see this opening of the cave. There's a cave. We're coming around. And then I see there's a lot of rocks, which is another oddity, and then bone matter. When I'm not close enough to identify what kind of bones, but I did see something I knew was a piece of our communication equipment. So instantly, we're thinking ambush, maybe animal, you know, it could be anything. And there was enough room in front of this cave, but it had a sheer drop off. But there was enough room that we actually got into a decent dispersal in case of ambush.
You see something coming out of the cave, and it's moving with a speed and agility that catches you off guard. Everybody.
And he comes out. It was a man at least 12 to 15 years old. This is a monster, red beard, and his hair was long past the shoulder, a scarlet red, and Dan runs at him, starts shooting pro column into the reality. As it was
So now your training is kicking in.
Oh yeah, okay. Muscle memory, complete muscle memory. While Dan is moving at him, another bro of mine's laying down fire, and I start firing. Skewers Dan. He's now got him on this pipe. It went through. And he's still got it. And he's coming after more. We all just clicked in. I don't know what it was, but I remember we're all like, shoot him in the face, shoot him in the face. Our weapons components were in force. We had drill aids. And we had bird witness. This is sounding longer than it took. We're talking 30 seconds. And he's taking multiple hits, and is still moving.
He talked about this giant being 1,100 pounds, anywhere from 10 to 15 feet long, and it was killed. It was apparently shot somewhere in a cave in Afghanistan, but before it was shot, it lunged at several of our troops, our soldiers, and may have even gorged somebody. It was just a bizarre story, and it just sounds like the Nephilim from the Bible. And you have to assume that the giant is not alone, that the giant is not the only being living on this planet. There's got to be a whole school of them somewhere. You know, maybe he's got a female mate, maybe he's got children, who knows. Unfortunate that he had to attack our soldiers.
Dan was dead. Okay. And why is a good man? Probably one of the best men I know, not dead. Before I'd left, they were already starting what they call a 9-line, which is a medevac request. They're sending out a medevac request, then all of a sudden it's not a medevac request. All of a sudden we had a helicopter show up because, like I told you, there was a large precipice and a sheer drop. So the helicopter just came up from the ground. They had dropped netting, which is like cargo netting. It's like squares. We were told we had to bundle him up. And we get another bigger helicopter. But it's almost like a Jolly Green Giant used to look back in the day. That could get, through this area. Because the mountains, you gotta remember, Chinooks could only go in certain places because they had enough to live. And so we got him on there. The thing was too big, we couldn't move it. It smelled worse than a skunk. The corpse that's been around for a while.
Really foul.
Oh, it was like a combination because of the persistence of a skunk smell. But once the helicopter came in, dropped its little hook, and off he goes. The communication was sent out, and we had a very large, hostile human creature.
There you are in the hills of Afghanistan. How many troop members are you with?
We had 6 on my crew. And when we say hills of Afghanistan, for us, we did not fly into the wilderness. We actually flew into a base. I guess this thing was transported out of the mountains by a CH-47. But I could see that it did have the 6 fingers. I remember picking my foot up and placing it up next to its foot, and it was extremely large. We estimated at about 12 feet, give or take. What I can tell you is the weight of the thing. Basically, it was approximately 1,500 pounds when it was getting on the aircraft. Now, if you take away the talent, weight, and all the rigging that we had to hold this thing down, we figured it around 1,100 pounds.
Of course we're upset. That's a given. Okay. We lost a very good guy. But add to that, you're discussing something that even in our after action report, they're saying rewrite. And we had to rewrite it to the
How many fingers?
6 toes.
6 toes.
And the nails were weird because if you see somebody that never has, I don't know what it's called, but it's
like a fungus on
the nails, how they get pointy and they're like gnarly. That's what they look like.
As we showed you in the clip, the radio operator checked in and gave the report, and the unit was told to stand by. People have a right to know about this stuff. I mean, if there are 15-footers or 18-footers roaming the planet, and our military has brought them down, I mean, we have a right as American citizens. I mean, this isn't classified military stuff. This is something that we need to know, and it points back to the biblical prophetic narrative. What are your thoughts on that?
I think, here's my personal opinion. My personal opinion is if it points that the Bible's accurate, they don't want it. If it goes against Darwinian evolution, it's not to be spoken of.
So you're out in the boonies, running around looking for high-value targets.
Correct. And we're doing those operations, and as we're getting into firefights, we're getting into different scrimmages, you want to put it that way, we would come back to the base, and we started hearing this rumor about a unit that killed this, what they started calling this really tall person. At first I didn't think anything of it, and then come to find out that the person that they killed actually was 3 times the size of a man, had extra digits on their hand and digits on their feet, and had red hair, and a special unit had come in and wanted this target. Well, we'd heard that they had killed this thing inside a cave, or the mouth of a cave, and it was common knowledge among the military to hear this.
Now, when you say common knowledge, what do you mean? I mean, how does that work?
Years later, come to find out when I had returned from Afghanistan and had met other military members that had not been in the operations with me. If you would bring up the giant of Kandahar, they knew about it. When you first hear it, you're thinking like, this has got to be a joke. This has got to be a hoax. And then after things go down a certain way, and you keep hearing it, you start to realize it's not a joke. They kept telling us to keep our weapons high, which means normally it's to the chest, one of the head, but they kept telling us to put it towards a man's head and put it higher. So we would question, why do they want us to shoot higher than a man's head?
That's bizarre.
It is.
Our contact said 2002 is when they shot this 15-foot or taller, and you're now in this, in the service around 2005. This word has gotten out, and what I find interesting here too is that if you're going to create a hoax, I get that, but you got details: 6 fingers, red hair, double rows of teeth, 6 digits on the toes. And of course that brings it right back into what we hear about in the biblical prophetic narrative, specifically the Nephilim. Your thoughts?
I agree. I will tell you that when I was doing my time in the service, and the stuff I saw, some of it I couldn't explain, like lights in the sky getting firefighters, like orbs, or lights that the size of a softball that looked that size looking up in the sky with making weird noises. And even going to Iraq myself and being near Haditha Dam and knowing, seeing where the prisoners are in the dam, and prisoners are screaming and there'd be this awful feeling underneath the dam, and later finding out in the Bible that an angel's locked them there, as it talks about.
And this is Haditha Dam, is the Euphrates.
It's Euphrates,
and
correct.
An angel supposedly locked underneath the Euphrates,
correct,
which is released in the book of Revelation.
Correct.
That's bizarre. So you're actually at this site, and soldiers are being locked in prison underneath the Haditha Dam,
correct,
and they're freaking out.
They're freaking out. They said they could feel it. In fact, the people who would guard them, they would draw straws to see who would actually take it.
No one wanted to go down.
Nobody wants to go down. Going back to Afghanistan, we would hear these things. We would hear the locals talk about rumors of these giants.
What would the locals say? How would they talk about it?
They say that they lived in the caves and they would eat people, and
they were cannibals.
They were cannibals.
Demons are not fallen angels. There's a very, very large, very incorrect misconception. Yeah, they are not fallen angels. There's a very, very easy way to prove this. Let's go to Genesis 6, 1 through 8, where it talks about how the sons of the Most High found daughters of man that they saw that were fair, I'm paraphrasing, and that they took wives as they saw fit. They came down to earth, decided to bag a lot of earth chicks, and procreate. Now, can angels procreate? Before this time? No, they could not. They did not have the wireworks to do so, okay? But they did, because the Bible also tells us that Satan can change his form, coming in as an angel of light. Now the book of Enoch, which was taken out of the scriptures, which should not have been taken out of the scriptures, explain in further detail, as Enoch was shown all these things, how all this came about. But we'll stick to Genesis 6 for now. At the end of Genesis 6, 1 through 8, it says, "But the Most High found favor in Noah." Noah, Hebrew Israelite, who is also of the descendancy of Adam, who was a Negro, Aphrodisiac, black person, as Yeshua was. And I believe that the Most High at this point was keeping his plan together. He saw favor in Noah. Noah did no wrong. Noah was righteous, like David. and of course, like Yeshaya. And Yeshaya is a direct descendancy of Noah, which he's also a direct descendancy of Adam, right? Because Noah came from Adam, same seed line. Joseph, same seed line. And you guys want to get all freaky and say, well, I thought it was a virgin birth. That's part of the paganistic lie. He was not born of a virgin. Look at the concordance, Hebrew dictionary. Look up the definition of virgin. It is not, as the pagans want you to believe, someone who has never procreated. It is someone who has only procreated with their husband, one man. Okay? So once you grasp that aspect and that reality, also grasp the aspect and the reality that you should not be worshiping a man. When the Most High required sacrificial lambs, literal sacrificial lambs, animals, He did not require you to worship the lamb. He did not require you to be at the altar and saying, oh, beautiful cow, thank you, I worship you for saving me. No, man. It's good, though. It's going to be good anyway. I'm going to put some eggs and ground beef. I love this kind of cooking, this South Texas cooking, or just crazy meat cooking. But anyway, that's not there nor there. The point is that you were taught to believe something, and don't worry, so was I. I'm not looking down on you. I was taught to believe that the Jesus character, again, not even his real name, that's Zeus's name, Jesus, yeah, he was a God in the flesh. If you go back to the scriptures, you look into when he was asking to be baptized by John the Baptist. What happened? Come on, Christian, this is Christianity 101. What happened? The sky opened, right? The sky opened, and the Most High said in the sky, one of the last things he said literally to humanity, in terms of audible, this is my son, for I am well pleased. Right? So why is Christ going to say, looking down upon himself, opening his own sky and saying, that's me, who I am well pleased in? This is really confusing. And it's not going to work that way. But that's a lie that Satan wants you to believe. Now, you're going to pull out scriptures. In fact, I can pull out scriptures. There you go. That will try to explain away what I just said, which is not to worship Yeshaya, even though he himself said, why do you call me good? None are good but the Father. That's a telltale sign. Don't worship me. He's basically saying, oh, guy, I'm a human being just like you. Now, you got to stop to figure that. How could humanity be saved by a supernatural creation or paranormal creation? I don't like the term supernatural. If everything is not new under the sun to the Most High, then it's all natural, right? So anyway, paranormal. How could this paranormal being who floated on water and did all this, magical stuff, which by the way he did do it, but he did it through faith, just like we can. How could he save humanity from non-belief? It's like you see a dude do that, and you're all like, "Oh, wait a minute, this guy's a superhero. I believe it. I think I'm okay." You're gonna need somebody yourself, to be able to defeat your own enemy, which is sin. Sin is the true enemy of mankind. Not even Satan. Satan's your accuser. He's your manipulator, he's your deceiver, he's the adversary, which is what the scriptures call him. But he is not your overall true enemy. Even the secular world can see that We are our own worst enemy. So, sin is your true enemy. But let's get back to Messiah, Christ. He died for our sins. He is the way, the truth, and the life, just as he said. None may come to the Father but by through him, because of the sacrifice. Again, it's not about death, the way Catholics love showing his death. He died, 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 died. Look at his cross. He's dead, 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 dead. The cross is actually more of a pagan symbol. Even Paul recognized that. That's why he wanted to be hung upside down, because he didn't want to disrespect Messiah, his king, my king, our king, whether you know it or not. You will, the Bible says. Every knee will bow on that day, and every tongue will confess that thou art Lord. This is just an attempt to help you understand that that day is coming soon, and you need to be prepared. Anyway, as it were, Yeshua was indeed the only begotten Son of the Most High, just as Adam was, because he did not sin. We are not saved because of his death in general. We are saved because he lived his entire life without sinning, and he died sinless that we may live despite our sin. And he fixed a bunch of other problems as well. Iniquity, infirmity, war, chaos, hell, death, and the grave. All that stuff done with, over, kaput. Evil has the expiration date now. It's over. If he hadn't done what he did, we would be suffering with evil forever. But my King, my Savior, my Messiah, my Lord, he did it. Died sinless. Got back keys to hell, death, and the grave. He died sinless to save us from our own sins. Pretty cool, man. Pretty cool. So that's why he is the Savior. He's not God on earth. But you guys are going to refer to that scripture, so I'm going to explain it to you. Scripture's not talking about him alone. He's talking about the Godhead.
I'd like to thank you for coming out here this evening to arm yourselves with comprehensive understanding of mind control, because knowledge is our only defense against mind control. Knowledge is our only defense against it, which is exactly why it's being suppressed under the 1947 National Security Act. There's a small handful of criminals that are in control of our government and in control of our country, that are in control of our information, and they're suppressing pertinent facts such as mind control and hiding under the National Security Act. That's national security that's threatening the security of our nation when it allows for crimes against humanity like tortures to continue, when it allows for mass mind control mechanisms to go into place through social engineering that keeps us all warring with each other and not really understanding exactly what it is that's going on in our world. We all formulate our thoughts, our opinions, and ultimately our actions based on what we know. And when our knowledge base is altered, we're left to superstition, conjecture, and ultimately fear. And fear is a strong basis for mind control, whether it's a kind of mind control that is the mass mind control over a whole society, or if it's the kind of absolute robotic mind control that I experienced under MK Ultra on a White House Pentagon level. In 1957, I was born into a multi-generational incest-based family. My father had been sexually abused. His mother was a prostitute. My mother had been sexually abused, and her father was military intelligence and ran a Blue Masonic Lodge. As a very young child, I had hoped that there was some place in the world where people didn't abuse their children. I thought that perhaps that could actually happen because that's what I felt in my heart. And yet, with my whole environment saturated and my view was narrow to my own environment, I lost hope that there was a place where people didn't abuse each other. The sexual abuse that I endured as a child began at a very early age. And it was before I could actually think to understand that my father's sexual abuse was bad. I couldn't judge morally what he was doing was wrong in any way whatsoever. But I did endure the pain and suffocation of his abuse just the same. And my body automatically responded to that pain and to that suffocation by developing a disorder which is known as dissociative identity disorder. This disorder was formally termed multiple personality disorder because it was well known that any child that was so abused to be used in child pornography would be suffering from this dissociative disorder. This disorder is a prime basis for mind control, as had been learned through the Himmler studies on multi-generationally abused children. In the early 60s, Project Paperclip was in full swing. The Nazi and fascist scientists had been imported into the United States, were put into key positions, and information was gleaned from them on what Adolf Hitler was using as mind control in Nazi Germany. It's important that we consider that we've got the same people in place, and it's just a small handful of criminals, and it's absolutely inexcusable that we continue to leave them in power.
I was very much alive in the Cold War era. I remember how petrified everyone was of nuclear war. It never really made sense to me why we would allow people to destroy the planet. And what I mean by that is why there wouldn't be some sort of an uprising from the consensus to disapprove of this. There are smaller amounts of people in control of these weapons, and yet we're just supposed to sit by and idly let them do this in the event of some sort of issue that the governments were having with one another. It boggled my mind. I couldn't understand it, and to be honest with you, I still don't understand it. It's the stupidest thing that we could allow happen, yet we do. We sit there and allow these government officials to tell us what they deem appropriate, while we sit idly by. Slaves. It's madness. It's madness. Now, without making any sudden clarifications, any real idiom at this point, I want to ask people questions. And I would suppose that to the skeptics, and I'm talking about the skeptics even on the quote-unquote secular standpoint in terms of the whole extraterrestrial phenomenon, UFO phenomenon, alien abduction phenomenon, that scope of what's going on in the world in terms of what people are talking about. I want to ask a couple of questions and just put it out there. According to many great scholars,
one of the most notable modern researchers of the alien abduction experience, the quote-unquote extraterrestrial alien abduction experience, Professor David Jacobs. The gentleman's been doing an independent study for the past 30 plus years, and he's interviewed literally thousands of individuals who make the claim that they were indeed something seriously strange was happening in their life. There are several books that he's written, and in these books he details one extreme guideline, okay, in terms of understanding why he spent pretty much his entire life researching this and why it is that important. And any mystery case out there, any unsolved mystery, you are going to do your best to isolate yourself with the facts, all right? Being as objectively minded as possible and as skeptical as possible. Skepticism is there for a reason, folks. You can't dismiss it all the time just because you want to believe what you want to believe, all right? It's very important. I utilize skepticism in my own faith system, okay? And I take that from my own faith system, where it tells me to test the spirit. That's what it's telling you. Are you skeptical about something? You need to be skeptical. You need to find out what the truth is. So test that spirit. Figure out what's going on to the best of your ability. So in that spirit, we have to look at this whole structure of what's going on in terms of these unsolved mysteries, and stick to one specific thing. We are not to believe a person by claims that they've made until we hear the same claim from someone that they have never met in their life. All right? I'll give you an example. I'm going to use the abduction experience as an example.
Doing abduction research gives you intent. It gives you their intentions, what they plan to do in the future. That is unknown for just straight UFO researchers. That's all. They're still they deal with primarily the outside shells of objects. To look for with abduction accounts is similarity. If somebody says something that is what would be called an outlier, something that I have never heard before, and sometimes makes no sense to me whatsoever, I wait until other people say the same thing, and then without knowing that there's this other testimony. The more of that, the better. And so everything that I put in my in the threat and in my latest book, Walking Among Us, everything that I put in there had been verified by other abductees, and I was careful, as you can see, to put in certain phrases that abductees used who were totally unaware that another abductee was using it. For example, one person says that she felt like she was being a traitor to the human race by doing what she was doing, and another person had said essentially the same thing. They had guilt. They were filled with guilt over what they were doing. They sort of knew it at the time. Now, I had worked with these two people for a minimum amount of 10 years each. So that's what you have to do. You just cannot go with what a person says automatically and what they're saying you've never heard before, and it suddenly becomes evidence. It does not rise to the level of evidence that quickly. You have to wait for other people to say the same thing to confirm what the first person said. More the better.
According to Dr. Jacobs, he explains that at one point in time he asked a question, he built upon a question, rather, that one of the persons that he was interviewing through hypnotic regression, or even just one-on-one interviews, whatever the person was able to remember, and he was asking them, you know, well, what type of experience were you having? All right, and the person would say things like, well, one thing I can tell you is a feeling that I felt very guilty. I felt very guilty about what I was doing against the human race. All right. He kind of jotted down his notes, set it aside. Didn't really think much more of it because he was being intellectually honest. He was being objective, and you really don't know what to understand or think about things like that when a person is making that sort of a claim. You know, it's upon that person. At this point, you know, since there's no real, I guess, ethereal evidence to what the person was saying, you just got to leave it at that. But he interviewed literally hundreds of other folks, and they all started saying the same thing. And these people hadn't met each other. They had no idea who they were, never knew each other. So you start looking at this pattern. It becomes a pattern. He starts noticing that there's a bunch of people that feel very guilty because of these experiences.
In the threat, it talked about the fact that these beings we're talking about, and this is later on in the book and also in my research, this is years later, they're talking about that soon there was going to be a change made. Everybody was going to be happy when the change comes. When the change comes, everybody's going to know this place. I heard this from a number of abductees who did not know that other people were saying the same thing. So I asked them what the soon meant. What's the word soon meant? What do they mean by soon? Because soon is a non-word. It could mean 10 minutes from now or 10,000 years from now, for all we know. You know, it's meaningless. Nobody knew. Nobody knew. In 2003, I began to hear that there was that hybrids were living here somewhere, that they were going out to different places with abductees, restaurants, chips and cars, that they were then moving into apartments. These are being helped by abductees who have to teach them how to be human. But once you live here, they realized, by essence, that there are about 800 billion things that they don't know. So what I began to see with a number of abductees who I work with, one of whom I've worked with since 1987, if you can imagine that, who also began to tell me the same thing, who had never told me anything like that for years and years and years beforehand.
Now, obviously, you can theorize, psychosis, group psychosis, and whatnot. But the likelihood of group psychosis, especially in individuals who hadn't met each other, is very low. In fact, one of the only ways for that to happen is through the same psychiatric programming. All right, now that exists. All right, it's a MK Ultra programming that was originated by MI6 overseas to basically get super soldiers to do the bidding of secret black ops organizations, black governments. All right. And there's a whole other, mysticism table upon that. That honestly would be like an entirely another docu video. All right. But for now, we're going to hold on to the fact that yes, there is programming that exists. That's one of the reasons why television programs are called that. They're programs. They program people's minds, get you to think a certain narrative, to get you to understand a certain rationale. It makes the people money who are creating these quote-unquote entertainment programming vessels, but they get their rules and regulations for doing so from Satan himself. All right? But we can talk about that later. What I want to get at now is, yes, there is something called group psychosis when you're dealing with things like that. In fact, there are other independent studies that have happened by psychiatrists, hypnotherapists, that said simply that they'd go in there to get therapy, to quit smoking or to eat less because they were overweight, or all these things. And the doctors were finding more and more that they had to actually get them out of hypnosis first, that their patients were already hypnotized. And none of them could really explain it. These are independent studies done over the spans of 30, 40 years, all right? Information's all over the internet for that. In fact, Dr. Jacobs, Professor Jacobs, is actually part of that voice as well. So we need to concentrate on that right now, because he's done extensive research, and I actually trust him as an individual, an independent rationale, rather than the more overtly prominent, more popular quote-unquote alien abduction or ufologists like Bud Hopkins, Tex Mars. Individuals of this stature, to me, seem more like a forced paradigm to get people to think that it's kind of a better thing than a bad thing. Now, not so much Bud Hopkins. He's really kind of always seen it as a negative, but he needs... He's a sensationalist more than anything else. Dr. Jacobs really isn't. He's more of a independent-minded, and this is just reading his information and hearing about him, watching his videos and all that kind of stuff. I've made that personal assessment.
The amount of energy placed into this phenomenon is just mind-boggling. They're serious about what they're doing. It's global, it's clandestine, they don't want us to know what they're doing. They're afraid of that, they don't want us to know. And it's intergenerational. Of course, that everything sort of melds together in a sense. And of course, they can control us neurologically, and we can't control them. So this adds up to a situation which is, well, to put it lightly and nicely, it's horrible. It's terrible. I don't see anything good about this at all. They have human characteristics. They have, they're interested in things. They want to learn things. They want to live here. They want to, blend in and all that. They don't want anybody to know who they are and all the rest of that. But as I pointed out, walking among us, there's only one ever so slight, hardly noticeable difference. And that is, they can control us neurologically, and we cannot control them. That is disastrous for humans. That makes us into a second-class person, a second-class animal, so to speak, and them into a first-class animal, so to speak. We are not second-class, just second-class citizens. We're second-class beings compared to them. You can't just dismiss it when lots of people began to tell you the same thing in the same way and were unaware of other people's testimony. All the gray aliens and the hybrids have been bred to do specific jobs. So when you see gray aliens, they have been bred. Their brains are suited to do their jobs only. That's what they do. They come down, they get people, they put them on tables, they squire them into rooms, they stare into their eyes in the distance of an inch. So what we're looking at here is a very, very advanced, I don't know if I can use the word civilization or not, but certainly an advanced group of beings who are here, who we cannot possibly be on the same level with, both technologically and neurologically. Technologically I can live with. Neurologically that's a bad one.
Whether it's true or not is upon each individual person. which is what I'm trying to get at. You have to ask yourself this question, all right? Yes, it could be total nonsense. Yes, it could be a group, psychosis, but that generally doesn't happen unless it's an expansive hypnosis through television, harp towers, or whatever other technology that they use out there, or magic and mysticism that the enemy uses out there. The same enemy that we're talking about, which at this point people will call extraterrestrial. They're not extraterrestrial. There's all sorts of information out there, ancient and otherwise, inscribed in pyramids all over the world, not just in Egypt, Mesopotamia, the Aztecs, the Mayans, on and on and on, that describe these creatures being here just as long as we have been. They're terrain. They're here. They hide. And that's really the gist of what's going on here. I don't believe that they're extraterrestrial, nor do I believe, in the whole concept of alien. That is a sensationalism. That is a control paradigm to get people to think that there's something more than what the reality is. Genesis 6:1-8 talks about Nephilim, which I believe are what we're talking about. These people are being abducted by, Nephilim, children of fallen angels, human and fallen angel hybrids. Now that's obviously there's a structure. There's a pyramid of power from that point. You have the Nephilim, then you have whatever clones they have, then you have whatever workers, then you have different factions of the quote-unquote I guess demonology. But the issue is, quote-unquote reptilian, gray, all that stuff, they're all products of fallen angels. And to be honest with you, they all look the same to me.
I have seen the Chitauri. I have smelt them. I have had personal experience of these. And there are people who claim that these creatures are gods. There are people who claim that these creatures are experimenting on us. That is a lot of rubbish. These creatures are harvesting us. These creatures are not aliens, Mr. Ike. These creatures are sexually compatible with our women. And what does that tell you? It tells you that they came from here. They are part of us. And this makes them all the more dangerous. They know us very, very, very well. They know the great weaknesses of our minds, just as they know the great strengths of our minds. They operate in what I call the gray area of human existence, that side of our lives which we don't want to acknowledge the existence of. They create, African tradition says that the Chitauri, where they engaged God himself in a terrible war, and God defeated them, the real God, Nkulunkulu, the creator.
reality is, and it's a very stark reality, is that they have done a really good job at hiding. It's not so much that these paranormal phenomenons are not seen, it's that they're not seen readily. We can, I mean, these are great videos, you know, they're say what you will about them, but stuff like this is pretty expensive, even on the home market, to computer generate, all right? I'm not expelling it from the possibility, obviously. It's just that it takes a pretty good amount of coin just to be able to do stuff with this type of technology. Again, even in a home electronics market. So I understand, you know, you have contention there. The thing that always brings me up to it is the scriptures, where he's kind of detailing almost to a T what, you know, they saw in Michigan on that video. Now that being said, somebody could have read the same scriptures and decided to computer generate that as well, in fairness. So, you know, that is what it is. I leave it up to you, make your own decisions. But there are many cases of film that were proven not to be hoax, that whatever they captured on film or video, there's truly no explanation for it. Nobody's come up with an explanation. Nobody's been able to you know, claim that they know where it came from. So it's kind of left at that. But my point is that it's happening a lot more. You see it in the video. You see it all over the internet, where more and more of these videos are coming out. And I believe the scripture, you know, that talks about how in the later days the tares will be shown. Lifted. We'll be able to see more of the things that we weren't able to see before, and that's due to technology. Obviously, the Most High knows this because He knows what direction we're headed in, and that's what the prophets were warning us of, trying to get us to understand when the times are near for Yeshua's return. All right. So that being said, that doesn't mean that it was never always there, okay? It's just that people have the technology to be able to spot it at a much quicker frequency now, because these digital devices, like the one I'm holding in my hand right now, are everywhere. They're everywhere. It's what I like to call the double-edged sword, like the internet, you know. It served Satan's purpose from the technological standpoint for, you know, data mining, conspiracy, propaganda, and obviously in the occult spectrum, where they can send and receive, or they can send evil spirits into people to you know, mess with them further. That's all due to the beast system, which is a computer system. But it also helps us to identify these things, and helps us to confer and talk about the truth. Yeah. So I think the same thing can be said about digital devices. They use them for their own need. For one thing, they sell them to us so that they can, you know, keep financing their dubious operations. And not to mention the fact that it helps them to keep track of us. That's a big one there, right? So we have to look at it from this mindset as well. It allows us to actually have the devices and spread the truth, you know, on the internet, like I'm trying to do right now, but also to take video of things that, you know, we weren't able to take videos so readily. I mean, back in the day, right when I was a kid, ufology really, you know, it kind of intrigued me a lot, almost unnaturally, but I kind of know now why. But the point is that I always wished I could see one up in the sky, so that I could, I almost fell, so that I can, you know, show the world that you know, this is real, all this junk. But it's always been real. It's in the scriptures, you know. Anytime one of the prophets talk about cloud, that's a UFO, man. That's an identified flying object. Okay, whether it's from the fallen angels, backwards engineered technology that they pass down to their children, demons, which is what we're talking about right now, or angelic forces, basically the actual good guys, angels that watch out for humanity secretly, because of the whole faith system. You know, it doesn't take a lot for a person to believe that you know, somebody could walk on water if they actually saw it with both of their eyes. So there has to be something about faith. We have to come to this understanding through belief, true belief, and that's why they have to do that. That's why there's wars up in the outer atmosphere, just under heaven and just above earth. And they're fighting for us to have more time, because Satan ramps up his armies to kind of push the technology ahead, to get ahead of us and try to destroy us as soon as possible, so that Yeshua the Christ doesn't have to come back. Okay, so back in the day, it was always there. You know, you had all these old cameras that could pick up certain things, and you know, everybody dismissed it because it was so grainy. You had like what, 8mm film cameras and whatnot. There's some really good footage out there, but for the most part, it was always dismissed. But it's always been there. This stuff's been around. I mean, all you have to do is spend one decent night out in the boonies, and stay awake like I do, because I'm an insomniac, for the most of the night, and you'll see some really funky stuff. You will, up in the sky, no doubt, no doubt. If anybody's ever been camping, you know, which obviously many of us have, you know, we see things, and we'll dismiss it as shooting stars or, you know, airplanes or whatever, but there's things that you would look at and you'd be like, well, wait a minute, what the crap was that? Just saying, right? So it's always been available. It's always been there. It's always been going on. There's wars going on for human souls underground, and like I said, in space, in our upper atmosphere. But it dates back even to the Renaissance period. You have Da Vinci. You know, he would paint freaking ships in his paintings. So yeah, but we now with the advent of technology, we're able to capture a lot more, which helps me to dismiss the fact that, hey man, not every single one of these things can be hoaxes, and there are actual people that saw it in multiple places. So if it's a hoax, it's a pretty big one, right? Okay, so you're wondering, well, what's the relevance of all this? Well, I mean, okay, you know, there's demons in the world. They've been here since forever, and they're secretly controlling the world and blah blah blah, or manipulating control of the world. So what's your point, Mark? It's this. It's very simple. The Bible talks about two different people in the end days. The Bible talks about that you'll either receive the mark of the beast or the seal of the Most High. This seal will guarantee deliverance into the new kingdom. Now, it's Satan's job that he took upon himself, and those who are with him, fallen angel that are locked up right now, demons that are their children, disembodied spirits of Nephilim, who secretly work among men, which are the demons that we're talking about in this documentary. It's their job to get us to refuse that seal in every way, shape, or form, every type of deception, every type of manipulation, every type of coercion, to reject that seal and instead receive the mark of the beast. And that's what this documentary is about.
We need to challenge ourselves not to sin, because then it doesn't become a challenge anymore. It's discipline. You know, you want to wake up early to go to a job that you love. You're not a day person. You're not a morning person. Yeah, you're gonna practice discipline to get up, get your booty up, get yourself to that job, and have a meaningful life or experience there. Okay. Same with sin. You just discipline yourself not to do it. It's really not that difficult. It's just a narrative that we've been given to convince us that it's impossible not to sin. It's not. It's not impossible to not sin. So, if we learned anything from this documentary, is to go and do not sin again. Receive the seal of your Creator, the Most High, first the Jew, then the Gentile. All can be saved. And let's go home, free of this demonic oppression. And more importantly, yes, more importantly than demonic oppression, it's not about fearing them. The Most High did not give me a spirit of fear. They're all spirits. The Most High is the only thing I need to be afraid of, because He's the only one that can send both body and mind into hell. Right? So, it's time to go home. I'm not interested in worrying about demonic activity anymore, because that's a portion of my enemy, but not my ultimate enemy. My ultimate enemy is sin. And whether you believe it or know it or not, it's yours too.
Fantastically calming sensation when all the pretenses are dropped. When we decide to actually realize what's going on in our world and to systematically do something about it. This documentary is not meant for fear's sake. It has nothing to do with fear-mongering. Quite the opposite. I want everyone to understand what may be going on. And if it is as the premise states, what can we do about it? It's a question that I've been asked over and over again. Well, what's the solution, Mark? What can we do about it? It's really simple. We don't have to do anything but accept our Savior, Yeshua, the Christ. He has already done what needed to be done, which was prove Satan wrong, that humanity can live without committing sin, which gets us back into the graces of the one that created us, that asked us not to sin. Alright? Once we transcend and we are judged according to our works and whatnot, according to our faith, and whether we turned from that sin or not in our lives, we're going to transcend. We're going to be able to learn the things that we were so eager to learn in the Garden of Eden, that was being offered to us illegally, okay, by Satan. It's kind of like that whole deal with the Matrix. Remember the Matrix, the movie where, you know, Satan's plan is to inject as much information through the pineal gland process, just to, you know, have us learn kung fu, how to fly a helicopter in seconds, just right off the bat, through the pineal gland. That's symbolism for him actually doing it in real life through transhumanization processes. But it's a false precept. It's a lie. It's simply a psychological apparatus or leveraging tool to get us to feign waiting, which is what he did in the Garden of Eden. Here, take from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Then you'll be like God. Then you'll be like the Most High. There's a lie then. It's a lie now. I'm good with waiting. I'm still an infant in so many different ways. You know, no matter how much information or knowledge that I've gained, I'm no longer going to allow Satan or any of his cohorts to manipulating me into thinking that there is a shortcut to it. There isn't. If there was, we would have already fixed all of our problems, gotten ourselves out of the situations that we're in, which is basically, you know, a global homicide, a global suicide, not just of ourselves but of the planet. You know, we essentially did that at the fall, but now we're just exasperating things by listening to Satan. You know, having us live for industrial complexes, for war, proxy wars, for, you know, perpetuation of, you know, treatments rather than cures for any of our infirmities or ailments, which were perpetrated by Satan to begin with. You know, AIDS is manufactured. You know, diabetes was manufactured. The list goes on to how many of these diseases were manufactured, even dating up to polio, things like that. So let's do ourselves a favor and actually stop to analyze this. You know, what are DIDs? What are the different forms? What are the classifications? Why is it that we see pixelated manifestations during certain video or photographic imagery? All right, because the camera can see what a human eye does not see. The camera doesn't lie, relatively speaking, unless it's been manipulated. But you know, why are there hologram DIDs? Basically, what people would deem as light suits. They're able to manipulate light for us to see something that simply is not there. Then why are there actual shape-changing DIDs? Why can they physically change, as people like Arizona Wilder has stated? You know, why are there differences? Why is it just the iris, or the pupil rather, of a quote-unquote DID's eye slitting and not the rest of it? Sometimes it all happens. There are, from research into history, into, you know, socio patterns and whatnot, and of course scripture, that helps us to define 3 different classifications. One, the holographic DID. They're lowers. Lowers meaning lowered Nephilim. Nephilim that they do not have the, I guess, the magical consistency, the sorcery consistency to be able to shapeshift on command as the higher. That would mean there's 2 classifications so far. The hologram DID are actual demonic entities. What one would say is a reptilian, all right, draconian shape, serpent-like shape, which is just a genome. It's just a classification of their physical form. Those are the offspring of the Nephilim, which are basically offspring of fallen angels. Now there are giants in the hills. There have been many reports of this, especially in Pakistan, Afghanistan, where our U.S. military troops and NATO forces have actually engaged them. And every single time it's covered up, okay? We're talking big, burly monsters, 20 to 15 feet tall, coming out of caves, red beard, red hair, long hair, you know, just decimating entire platoons of military personnel over there. You know, you can try to get a drunk special ops officer or soldier to get you to tell a tale, and it'd be impossible for them to divulge it, because they fear for their lives. They fear for their families' lives. And this is one thing that I want to say on that note. Should we really be afraid of putting those people into harm's way? It's a foolishly pervasive idea to say things like, well, if you cross these demons or their cohorts, the Illuminati, Freemasons, Satanists, whatever, you are going to put those you love at risk. Or it causes you to fight harder for the people that you love. It doesn't make any sense to me when people say things like that, okay? I'm putting those at risk, the ones that I love. I'm a big pop culture fanatic. I love all the fun stuff. And one of the most prolific screenplays ever written was for the X-Men movies, where
Professor Xavier from the X-Men says to whoever was asking him, I forgot, you know, what are you going to do when they come looking for you or your children? And he's like, I have a great swell of pity for those who would come against me and my kids. That's the way it should be, okay? No, the Most High did not give me a spirit of fear. And that's all they are, spirits. That's what demons are, disembodied spirits. We've already learned that. We figured that out. So, what do I have to be afraid of if the Bible tells me specifically that I am only to fear the Most High alone? Because He's the only one that can send both body and soul into hell. You powers and principalities of darkness, you Satanists, you Zionist fools, you zealots, get nothing on that. Nothing. Now, as far as the classifications are concerned, we've already detailed 2 of them. And we're going to review. 1, holographic. They're not able to actually shape shift because they're lower DIDs. So they have to use technology, magic and mysticism to be able to change their appearance through hologram or manipulation of light. And what's really happening is it's more of a manipulation of your thought process, okay? They're sending signals to your mind to make it seem like you're seeing something that you're not. That's why you'll get degradation through certain camera times, because their technology isn't perfect, right? And it messes up every now and again. So you got the hologram DID. Then you have the DIDs that actually take human flesh through technology and mysticism. Same thing, science and mysticism. They inhabit the body of people who are just about to die. They are able to put a demon into that, or an evil spirit, same thing, demon and evil spirits are the same thing, into that human being that is just about to die, and they take over the persona of that individual. Okay? That's why you'll see people like Angelina Jolie and their eye pupils slit and then go back. It's not that magnanimous. It's not that incredible. I mean, cats do it every day. It's science. It's biological. These things happen. For us to say that, oh, well, it's not happening, that's impossible. It happens every day. Look at the regular biology. Look at the things that are happening with the animals. There's no difference. It's just DNA matter. It's science, okay? You have to get yourself out of the spell to think that these things are crazy, because they're not. Ancient civilizations will be telling you that. People who actually care more about life than, you know, sports scores or bra sizes, okay? Will tell you that. And the third classification are the hires, okay? The Nephilim that have the ability to shape shift as their fallen angelic fathers, okay? In the book of Isaiah, it does tell us that Lucifer came as an angel of light. He can do that. So can the fallen angels. So those are the 3 classifications, so that you do not get confused. Hologram. DID inside of a clone, because they can also manipulate clones. They clone genetic information in a human-like vessel. They don't last very long. They degrade. But they are able to reproduce in factories underground or whatever, DNA factories, or clone factories rather, and put evil spirits in them, and then they do their thing. And then, of course, the actual demons that can shapeshift, which Arizona Wilder talks about, Catherine O'Brien, many others have spoken up about how the Bush family's done. And the Bush families are obviously descendants of John Lackland, King John Lackland of England. They're all European blue blood demons in disguise. They're all part of the Nephilim and the Roman families, okay? These things are here, and about time we start waking up to it. I'm gonna tell you why.
In contextual closing, if a war
is not declared, is it still a war? Yeah. Yeah, it's still a war. Whether it's been declared or not, you're still at war. So, the question is, what do people end up doing about it? Do they go ahead and deal with the fact that, you know, they're at war and they don't care, they just go about their lives? It's like New Age philosophy. You accept a wide range of beliefs and ideas and situations from many different cultures and whatnot, things that work. You expel the things in the philosophy, the New Age philosophy, that don't work for your particular philosophy or religiosity or practice, because New Age mysticism is an occult practice, whether they know it or not. It's satanic. It's how some of the ancient mystics do what they do as well, chakra manipulation and all that sort of thing. It's all satanic. It's all activating your pineal gland. One-way ticket to the Hell Express. That's what that is. Don't do it. Don't open your third eye, despite all the promises that it gives you. When you can heal by faith alone, why would you need to open your third eye? We lost that in the Garden of Eden to begin with. Most High was more than willing to let us learn it, but we were too young. Satan knew this, and he manipulated us in the fall of Eden. And you know, now we're in the predicament that we're in. So you really got to look at it from that perspective. You have these New Agers out there cherry picking basically stuff out of the Bible, stuff that they like, stuff that works for them, and then they dismiss the things that they don't like damnation, the authority of the Most High, Yeshua, the anointed one that saved us from our own sin by dying sinless. These are very important traits that you need to have into account, because in the scriptures it all works together. It all works together. That's why it happened that way. That's why it's written that way. That's why the events happened the way that they did, so that we could come back to the reality and the truth of you know, our existence here in heaven and an eventual heaven on earth to those who are saved. And demons are doing their very best to rock those boats, because they're not. They serve the fallen angels, their fathers. They serve Satan, and they don't want us to go to any other place but hell with them as payback to the Most High for the jealousy that Satan has led them to feel for us. So you can't cherry pick it. You either accept all of it or none of it. That's the way I see it. Otherwise, you're a coward. You're basically saying, well, I just like this religion because, like, it makes me feel good about myself, and you know, it's just this is the way I want it. It's I. Well, you know what? You is going to go your ass to hell if you don't get with the program. Okay? There's a reason why we have laws in modern day society. And what do you think murder comes from, or you know, not wanting to kill people? Thou shalt not kill. It's a commandment. It's not a cool thing to do. So there are reasons why there are laws, but the Most High gave us laws that we follow Him into the next stage of our life, of our reality. If you think that this corporeal existence is all there is, then there's nothing more that I can say to you, for you, or do for you, because you have been shafted. You have been shafted by the deception given to you by Satan to make you think that this is all there is. Okay? Even the most skeptical, secular, humanist-minded people will attest to something else going on. They don't know what it is, but they'll attest to there's a soul, a spirit, call it what you will. They think that there's something beyond this, and many credible secular humanists will say this, you know, for whatever reasons. I don't believe that people like Richard Dawkins, who are now giving way to saying that aliens created us rather than evolution or whatever. That's just you got to disassemble one paradigm to create a new one. And when the one paradigm stops working, you create a new paradigm. So that's how that works. It's called a paradigm shift. So what we have to take into account is that Satan is indeed in this world. He has us at war, and it is an undeclared war. It is a secret war that Paul spoke of in the scriptures, and it's something that we really need to accept. How you accept it, why you accept it is on you, but it's real. You are being oppressed by a demonic race of beings that loathe and hate you despite what they say to you in your face. Alright? That is all there is to it. And they want you to go to hell with them because they know that that's where they're going when Yeshua, the anointed one, and the angelic forces return to earth to decimate them, and all guilty in sin. So this is what this documentary sums up to. If you are not stirred by this, I'm sorry. I failed in my job. If you can't see the consistencies of more than these things being a coincidence, for instance, all of these different people speaking about all of these different things, all of the biblical truth that is pushed into this to help you to see what's really going on here, man. I'm sorry that you missed it. I'm sorry that it's maybe not that you missed it. Maybe you just don't want it. Maybe you're terrified to the point where you've just become so indifferent. You've fallen for the ideological subversion technique. I'm sorry, I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, I'm literally telling you what's going on, and if you're not accepting it, I'm sorry. But if this does compel you, if this does strike your heart and your conscience, and you say, you know what, this crazy guy is actually speaking a little bit of truth here, I better look into it, then look into it. If you're convicted enough right now at this point to just give your life to the Most High, do it. Follow the Hebrew laws. Follow the Ten Commandments. I don't care what any foolish pagan Christian says. They're just listening to people out there that, you know, take things out of context and are not preaching the true word of the Most High, because Satan has his meat hooks in that as well. Controlling all of them. He tells them what to say, and they say it, so they can have their evangelical mission, money, to have their jets and their planes, live like rock stars. Okay, that's what they want. That's all they wanted to begin with. While the humble and the meek and the true believers understand that our treasures are stored in heaven above. Okay. Eventually, we will make it to heaven above, but until that time, we'll have the millennial rule. New Jerusalem will be dropped to earth, and we will remake and reform this planet and rule with Christ Yeshua, the anointed one, for 1,000 years. It's going to be awesome. And after that, we can all go back to the Most High. That's what the scriptures tell us. But we have to understand that this is real. It's going on. If you really want to do something about it, then believe in the Most High as the one true God, the one true power, who's telling us what to do, just word by word, and disseminate it from the human ideological perspective that we manipulate His word for our own benefit. That's all satanic. That's satanic as well. There's only so many ways you can translate hell, death, and the grave, and there's only one truth rather than a myriad of truths that Satan likes to get us to believe. Fight fire with fire, when we all know that only water will douse fire. Fight fire with water is what we should be doing and saying and thinking and practicing. That's all there is to that. Don't let a demon tell you otherwise. And don't be afraid. The Bible says that they fear you who are in Yeshua. The power of the Holy Spirit protects you when you become obedient to the one who created you. So if you're compelled to do that, accept Yeshua as your Savior, because that's His name. Savior. Wear it out. That's what He wants you to do. receive the Holy Spirit in baptism, repent of the sin, be truly remorseful of your sin, and then turn from it. Paul was a Torah keeper. More importantly, Yeshua, the Savior of humanity, was a Torah keeper. Alright? All 10 Commandments. Learn and study the true Bible. King James Version 1611 is pretty much the best thing we got. Yeah, things were taken out of it. Yeah, things are rearranged. But if we look into our history and we look into the things that correlate into the truth that we need to find out, then we do that. And we're learning stuff every day. This is part of the awakening process of the Hebrews first and the Gentiles that would follow them second. All can be saved. That means you. We are destined to win. But it's up to us to realize who we are. I love you. The Most High loves you. He created you for love because He is love. And love is truth. Find your truth, which is that love. Now let's go home. In Yeshua's name, it is finished.